we go to men's Tennessee basketball because the Vols are about to travel to face Oklahoma on Saturday. Tennessee is coming off a big win over Missouri, where Missouri actually played as well as you could play, and Tennessee found a way to win. I'm still more impressed by their win over Missouri at full strength than I am their win over Florida with 2 players out, because with Zakai Ziegler and Igor Milicic out, because largely they benefited from Florida playing horrible. Well, with that momentum, Tennessee has to go visit Oklahoma. Oklahoma is unranked, but they're 16-6 and 3-6 in the SEC. So Tennessee continues their trend of doing something that they've done all year, which is the stat is crazy. They're more than halfway through the SEC schedule. Every SEC game for Tennessee has either been against a ranked opponent or a team with a winning record on the road. They have yet to play an unranked team at home. I'm not kidding you on that. That is an insane stat for this program. Now, of course, Kentucky's probably going to fall out of the top 25 soon, and that loss is going to look much worse than it did because of how things have played out. However, it's still an insane stat. So Tennessee's going to visit Oklahoma on Saturday, and this is a noon tip-off, and Oklahoma is no slouch, okay? The Oklahoma Sooners, like I told you, are 16-6 and 3. Even though they're 3-6 in the SEC, they are definitely a team looking to make a run that could make the NCAA tournament. They're a dangerous program. Right now, as far as things are looking for Tennessee, look, Rick Barnes' team is starting to get a little bit better and adjust to SEC play. As I told you earlier, well, actually, our man Steve Hamer told you earlier, Tennessee's schedule did not adequately prepare them for the SEC, and it wasn't their fault. I never thought about it until Steve Hamer brought it up. But Tennessee played only 2 teams that ended up being good. Now, they were both on the road, Louisville and Illinois. Both are better than we thought. But then they played Baylor, Miami, Virginia, and Syracuse. All games they thought would prepare them for SEC play, and all of those teams have turned out to be significantly worse than they were. Miami's coach bolted on them before the season started. They haven't recovered. Syracuse is having a really underachieving second year under their head coach right now. Baylor is still winning, but not the top 25 program we thought they were. And Virginia has collapsed. Those are 4 bad. That's 3 bad teams and 1 mediocre team. And they had to use that, which they thought would be elite teams, to prepare them for SEC play. Tennessee right now, just to give you an idea of how loaded the SEC is, Tennessee is 6-4 in the SEC, and they're ranked number 4 overall. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're 6th in the SEC right now. Interestingly enough, they are tied for 3rd if you just look at the wins. They played 1 more SEC game than Missouri, Florida, and Texas A&M, who are all 6-3. So they're tied for 3rd if you just go based on the wins, along with Ole Miss, by the way. So Auburn leads. They're 9-0 in the SEC. Alabama's 2nd at 8-1. And then you have Missouri, Florida, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and Ole Miss, all with 6 wins. Missouri, Florida, Texas A&M all have 3 losses. Tennessee and Ole Miss all have 4. It's a total cluster, by the way, of the SEC. And just in case you don't know, all of those teams are in the top 25. Every one of them. Plus Mississippi State, who is 4-5 in the SEC and number 22. Vanderbilt has Florida with the top 25. They're 4-5 in the SEC right now. And Kentucky is number 14. They're 4-5 in the SEC. So this team right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, has 9 of 18 teams in the top 25. And 9 of 16 teams in the top 25. And 14 of 16 are still looking to make the NCAA tournament and might be able to do it. That's how loaded and tough this conference is right now. And in terms of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those 7 teams with 6 wins or more, they're all in the top 25. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are in the top 10. So 5 top 10 teams. I mean, this conference is just brutal. This conference is just absolutely brutal, guys. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And it's really going to start to you wonder if they're ever going to start separating themselves a little bit. Now, over the weekend, you have a few games that could really help separate these 6-win teams. For instance, Texas A&M and Missouri are both 6-3. They play each other on Saturday. Florida's 6-3 and Auburn's 9-0. They play each other on Saturday. Alabama's Ole Miss is 6-4, but has to visit LSU, who's a dangerous team. And Alabama's 8-1, but has to visit John Calipari's Arkansas, which could be figuring some things out. We don't know. I'm just saying that this team could end up, this is a complete cluster of teams, and it's getting brutal. So what is Tennessee's outlook as they get set to face Oklahoma? How serious should they take this game? I've told you guys they should apply load management at times, but I think they should take the Oklahoma game seriously because it's a road game against an unranked team. It's going to be a quality win, and it could be a worse looking loss than it actually is if you lose based on the way the net rankings are done. So I think you should try to beat Oklahoma. I also think because you lost them at home, you should try to beat Kentucky when you face them on Tuesday night. I do. I know that's one I would say throw it, but Kentucky's struggling right now. So these next two road games, I think Tennessee should try to win. But I do think they should rest their starters when they visit the Texas A&M Aggies on the 22nd and when they visit Ole Miss on the 5th. And maybe even when they play Alabama at home on the 1st of March. We don't know. We'll play that one by ear. They definitely should have applied load management when they lost to Auburn a couple weeks ago. I thought they exerted way too much effort in that game. You guys know how I feel about that. I'm not a fan of effort. Like, as Matt says, number 1 seed, but currently tied for 3rd in the SEC. Yeah, exactly. But Matt, it's even crazier when you think about it because Tennessee is a projected number 1 seed. And if you go just by win percentage and not wins, Tennessee's actually tied for 6th in the SEC with Ole Miss. It's that crazy. This conference is that loaded. Now, have they finally adjusted to SEC play? That's the real question as they get set to face a unranked team on the road. Because that's what Steve Hamer brought about. I think they have. I think what they did with Missouri shows that. Chaz Lanier sometimes is still not being aggressive enough, particularly early. But he did have 10 points in this game when Igor Milicic Jr. was the focus of the game because of the way the Missouri defense was working, and Igor Milicic Jr. creatively found new ways to score, and he's got to stick with that. I got a stat of the day for you that's pretty freaking crazy when it comes to Igor Milicic Jr. That we're going to get to after this. But overall, I think Tennessee basketball has somewhat adjusted to SEC play, which should allow them to beat Oklahoma on the road on Saturday. Now, has this adjustment to SEC play, is that good enough for the rest of the way? Because Auburn's got such a lead on everybody. They're 9-0 in the SEC. Maybe. Auburn still has to visit Kentucky. They still have to visit Texas A&M. They still have to visit Alabama. They have to play Alabama at home. They have to play Florida at home. They have to play Ole Miss at home. And they have to visit Vanderbilt, where anything can happen. So if you're going for an SEC regular season title, it ain't out of the cards just yet. Okay, let's just talk about that. Tennessee is a missed 3 and a bad call away from beating Auburn. And they're just that fluky upset loss to Kentucky away from being 8-2 right now, with Auburn being 8-1. So Tennessee could easily be contending for the SEC title right now. Of course, Tennessee's schedule is not much better. But a lot of the brutal parts of their schedule are behind them, but they still have to visit Kentucky, visit Texas A&M, host Alabama, and visit Ole Miss. So the Alabama game at home is the one that you really want to circle. But there's a path, I guess what I'm getting at. There's a path for Tennessee to still win the SEC regular season title, but who cares? Quite honestly, who cares? They won the SEC tournament under Rick Barnes. They won the SEC title outright last year under Rick Barnes. Just focus on winning a national title at this point. Who cares about winning anything in the conference? You're going to get a number 1 seed if you do what you're supposed to do. And so if I am Tennessee, I do what I have to do to get to the NCAA tournament and have a 1, 2, or 3 seed. Any of those seeds are fine. Okay. 4, you're not crazy about, but 3-1, take the win. You can go make a national title run if you do that. So, I mean, I don't think there's much to worry about, but I do think they have adjusted to SEC play because they found new creative ways to score. And that adjustment to SEC play comes in large part from Igor Milicic Jr., who by playing more inside, even though he can shoot the 3, now teams have to respect him from anywhere on the court. That opens things up for Zakai, which is why he was better from 3. Chaz Lanier is still always a threat. And Felix Okpara, as he's developing as a scorer and a free throw shooter now, and you have to respect his free throw shooting, Igor and Felix allow Tennessee to play inside-out basketball, which, again, that's how this team was constructed this year. I'm not like inside-out every year. I wasn't last year, but that's how the team's constructed this year. They can play inside-out, and that's what they need to do with Igor and Felix. And because of that, they have adjusted to SEC play. So I think Tennessee's only going to get better from here.